my name is Chelsea and welcome to my very first ever Storytime video. So I have been wanting to start a YouTube channel for as long as I can remember, and I start making channels every single year and then I never end up posting content because basically I just get scared and afraid and think that I can't do it and that I'm incapable and all of the stream of negativity that goes through your mind whenever you're thinking things or you're thinking about branching out. And over the last 6 months, I spent some time with some really cool people who really just gave me the boldness to feel like I'm capable of turning on a camera and standing in front of it and doing this. So, I'm gonna make a Storytime channel. That's kind of what this is. And I hope to upload videos once a week. And yeah, I hope that you guys like them. For those of you who don't really understand what a Storytime channel is, basically it's where I turn on the camera and I tell a story about my life. And these stories are 100% true. As ridiculous as they sound, they are 100% true. And I hereby swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me, YouTube. If you want to stick around and hear the next video, which is probably going to be the part 2 to this video, subscribe. So then I'm in your feed and you get a little notification whenever I make another video. So to start this story, which is a really good one, I have to give you a lot of backstory so that you actually understand the characters and what took place to get to this point. Also, I'm going to be changing everybody's names just because, one, I absolutely 1000% know that the person that this story is about will watch this video. I know that without a shadow of a doubt. He will watch this video, he will see this. And two, we all do some really stupid things, and this happened a solid 7-8 years ago, and I don't want his future, if he's changed as a person, to kind of be tainted with this. So changing everyone's names, I hope that you guys don't figure it out. And if like you know who I am and you do know who these people are, don't say something. Like, it's unnecessary. I'm changing their names for a reason and I don't want people to know who they are. So just sip your tea in the corner and move along, okay? So growing up, I moved back and forth between 2 different school districts. Basically, I lived in Jackson and Kate back and forth, and I went to the 2 different schools. So this story kind of starts my freshman year. When I was a freshman in Jackson, freshmen are actually at the junior high school, which is way different than the majority of other school districts. But in Jackson, you don't actually go to high school until you're a sophomore, which is just really strange, but that's how it happened. So whenever I was a freshman, I was in a school with 8th graders, and there was this girl that I kind of had become friends with. Whenever I was in Jackson, I really struggled to make friends. I didn't have any friends. It probably looked like I had friends because I'm not even gonna get into that today, but I had 0 friends. I had no friends, and it was a really rough time in my life. But I met this girl there who had also transferred to this school district kind of later on in the game, and we hit it off. We became friends, and this girl was beautiful. Hands down in our friendship, I was the ugly friend, and she never made me feel like the ugly friend, and frankly I didn't care to be the ugly friend because she was a great person and I loved her, and yeah, we really hit it off and became good friends. Well, at the end of my freshman year, we ended up moving back to the Cape School District, and so I transferred. I ended up in high school, and her and I were no longer in the same school district. Now, something that's important to know in this story is that this girl actually had a really rough home life. She moved a lot, and I don't really know why. I just know that home wasn't always great. I think that maybe her mom had different boyfriends and would live with different people, and so she moved around a lot. She was always in between different school districts, and frankly, I never knew going to school if like she was going to be there that day or if she was like going to be in a different house in a different school going somewhere else. and it was just kind of how things were. And I always knew, though, that she would always get a hold of me, and that as soon as she was able to kind of reconnect with me, she would. So fast forward to my sophomore year. I finished my freshman year at Central. I go into my sophomore year, and lo and behold, this girl has actually transferred to Cape, and now we are in the same school again in a different school district. And I was like, what's up, homie? Like, you're my friend. Nice to see you. I'm in a new school. You're in a new school. Let's be best friends. And so our friendship continued, and I loved her. She was great. She was a great person. Now, like I said, this girl was beautiful. There was no doubt that lots of boys were constantly vying for her attention. However, she always had one consistent boyfriend throughout high school. I always knew, like, that's her dude, and, like, regardless of what little arguments or whatever they get into, like, that's her dude. And that's who, like, that's her man, okay? So, however, she would entertain other friendships. And I don't mean like she was out doing stuff with them, like inappropriate type stuff. Nothing, it wasn't like that. It was just like she was pretty. She knew she was pretty. She had a rough home life, and like if you try to talk to her but she don't have no minutes on her phone and you finna buy her minutes, like, she's gonna let you. And like, if you really want to like take her out and she's not gonna get dinner when she goes home and you're trying to buy her dinner, then like, she's gonna let you. And I wasn't mad at her for it. Like, do you, boo-boo? If that's like, okay, I'm not mad. So she had a lot of guy friends, and I always knew that they were all friend zoned because she had a boyfriend. This was her dude. Like, at the end of the day, like, this was the only person that like she for real wanted to be with. But like, this entire list of people thought that like at some point, if they worked hard enough, if they tried hard enough, like, they were gonna cuff her and like they were gonna be together. Okay, now that I've set up all of the backstory of that, we can get into the good stuff. I am sitting in my last period of class, and at the very end of the school day, the lady at the front desk in the office would come over like the loudspeaker and be like, would the following students please come to the office? And then she'd have her entire list of students that like needed to come to the office. Now, if your name got called in the last period, it just meant that like you had some business that you needed to take care of. You weren't in trouble, but like if it was called in the middle of the day, like you were sure gonna go see the principal. So it's last period, the lady comes over the speaker, she says my name, and I'm like, okay. Gonna go figure out whatever it is that they need, but like, homegirl has a bus to catch, so I had to make this quick. So the bell rings, I get my backpack, I get my books or whatever, and I head down to the office and like the atrium. So I walk in, I open the door, the lady at the front desk knows who I am, and she kind of just like points, and there's this boy standing there, just standing there. I have never seen this boy before. I don't know this boy, but he cute, okay? He is really good looking. So I am like, him? I need to see him? And he walks up to me and he's like, hey, are you Chelsea? And I was like, yeah, I am. I'm sitting there thinking like, because boys were like not for real interested in me. Like, it wasn't me that they were interested in. It was always my best friend that they were interested in. So I was like, today is my day. He's here for me. He loves me. My knight in shining armor has opened up the office, and here I am, and Lord take me. And I was just really excited. So he's like, hey, you're Chelsea. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, do you have a minute? And I was like, I mean, not for real, I got a bus, I got a catch in 37 seconds, but like for you, I will make a minute. So he's like, well, if you have a minute, I would love to talk to you in the library. And so I'm like, okay, date. All right. So we walk into the library, and at this school, like, our library is pretty dope. So our library is like big and open, and it has this like little cafe area where you can get some popcorn and hot cocoa, and it's like pretty nice. And I'm like, all right, so let's sit down, let's get us a little chair, how are you doing? And so I sit down, and he's like, so I was told that you're best friends with Katie. That's who we're gonna call this girl. And I was like, yes. Yes, I'm best friends with Katie. You're here for Katie. Okay, it's fine. Yes, I'm best friends with Katie. How can I help you? He was like, well, I was wondering if you could give her a message for me. And I was like, I probably can. And I was like, but I haven't seen her lately. And he was like, I haven't either. The fact of the matter is that if Katie hadn't come to school 2 or 3 days in a row, likely she wasn't in our school district anymore. It happened all the time. She moved back and forth all the time. And so I was like, I'm not even sure when I'm gonna see her again, but like, what's the message? So I noticed that he had this black moleskin journal, and he was like holding it, and he sets it up on the table, and he's like, I was wanting to know if you could get this to her. And I was like, okay, what is it? And he's like, well, I was recently diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I am leaving to go to Switzerland, and I want her to know how I feel about her, because I may never get a chance to tell her if this doesn't go right. And I was like, a minute. You're dying. He was like, I am. And we had this moment at the table because he's dying. This girl's the love of his life, even though like low-key she's never mentioned him to me. I don't even know who he is. And oh, she has a boyfriend. Like, but he's dying, and I need to tell the love of his life that he may never get to tell. So basically, I'm like, okay, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna do this. What do you need me to tell her? He's like, I wrote this journal for her, all of my thoughts, my feelings about her. And I want her to have it, and I want her to be able to read it and know how I feel about her in case I never get to tell her. And I'm like, all right. I don't know when I'm gonna see Katie next, but I will do whatever I can do to make sure that she gets this. And he's like, I appreciate it. And I was like, what is your name? And he's like, Luke, it's nice to meet you. And I was like, can I have your phone number, like, just to be sure that if like that I can get back in contact with you or whatever? And he was like, yeah, sure. So he jots his name and number down on a piece of paper, sticks it in the journal, and we say goodbye. Well, like 7 minutes had passed at this point, and so I missed my bus. So my butt had to wait there for like another 2 hours until my mama got off work, who was then upset. So, hi, I'm Chelsea, I'm nosy, and I have this journal, like it's a diary in my hand, so like I start reading it. And I am not like a huge reader. Like, I probably am not the person I just wasn't that kid growing up. I had a really hard time like keeping my attention on anything for like longer than 7 seconds. And so like sitting and like reading a book was always just really difficult for me. Not because I wasn't intelligent, but just because I got bored quickly. So I start reading this journal. My daughter's screaming. Sai! I swear it is always him messing with her. Okay. So I start reading this journal, and page after page after page goes by, and I realize that I have never read something so beautiful and so, like, this stuff like pierced me. Like, I was like, the poetry in this thing was funny. It had this like perfect like comedic timing, but it was also incredibly deep and like meant something. I don't even know how to explain it. It was just mind-blowing. And it was an entire journal. Every single page was filled in this book with entries about his day and what he was doing for the day and how things were going and how he was feeling, and poems about dreams that he would have. Just like, it was just full. And it was the most incredible thing I had ever read in my entire life. And then I found myself in a predicament because after reading the journal, I kind of like got caught up, you know what I mean? Like I sort of caught a case of feelings, because not only was this boy beautiful, like GQ model status, like very, very attractive, he had this like brain that I felt like I was caught up in like a real life, like The Fault in Our Stars, okay? Like it was just, he was just so smart, so eloquent, had this beautiful cursive handwriting, and he was in love with my best friend, who was absolutely not in love with him. So I'm struggling, but I pride myself in being a girl's girl, so let's just wrap these feelings up, stuff them way down deep, and find your friend Katie.
I'm sorry if I seem uninterested, or I'm not listening, or I'm indifferent. Truly, I ain't got no business here, but since my friends are here, I just came to kick it over.